Howdy folks, I hope everybody's well. So a few months back I uploaded this video to YouTube. It was me just tinkering around with seeing what I could do with 3D printed Pelton wheel spoons and an old bicycle wheel, see if it's kind of a proof of concept. So I uploaded this video, and since then it's gotten well over 2 million views, and it's earned me about almost 4,500 subscribers at this point. Got a lot of comments on it, mostly about I should hook a generator to it, or what a total waste of water, or are you going to need a long hose if you're going to have a water-powered bicycle. So I thought I'd put a longer video together and try to answer some of those questions and explain what you're seeing in this little short clip. So we no longer have the bicycle frame anymore. We've come a little ways from there. Now we've upgraded to 2x4s. This is where we are today with the project. Turn the wheel horizontally instead of vertically. That helped as far as bearings go. I've got it's all riding on one sealed skateboard bearing now instead of some crappy unsealed bicycle bearings. We've got a generator in the bucket. The bucket is really just to keep the rainwater off the generator. We'll go more into what the generator is later. I've got a 3D printed coupler attached to the generator. That just engages with the spokes, so it just slips on there, and it ended up working pretty well, and I got it on my first shot. I was pretty happy with that. So there's no physical connection. There's a little bit of float in there, lets things flex around. Right now I've got a pressure regulator on it so that I can adjust how much pressure is going into it while I'm playing with it. I've got a pressure gauge attached to it so that I can tell how much pressure is going into it. And then the generator itself puts out single phase AC. The plan is to have the electronics mounted quite a ways away from the wheel in the long run, so that's AC coming out, and then I've just got the long coil of wire to represent the route up to the final location. And then at the end there's a bridge rectifier there. Right now I've just got some LEDs attached to it, so you can see they go. I need to get a capacitor in there, try to get rid of some of the flicker, but it is generating power. I'll hook up a voltmeter to it in a little bit and we can see what it does. And then just a single nozzle on it for now. I might play with 2 nozzles later. I want to do a little more work on this, a little more adjustability, so I can adjust the aim on the wheel, but this should do pretty well for now. But I will go into more detail, but for now, that is what this has become. So I mentioned that the generator inside was made out of an old ceiling fan. Here's a little clip I posted of the inside of it. I didn't want to take it all apart and do it, so this was an earlier clip that I took. So you can see that's just the guts of a ceiling fan. I have another one here that was a failure. This one ended up, the windings in the motor were broken, but I thought I'd get it out so I could show you how this worked. That was just the old cover off the ceiling fan. There was an old aluminum rotor in here that I removed. And then I 3D printed up these little holders here, and with those I got some magnets, neodymium magnets, just got those off Amazon. Here's the box for those guys. I can't remember how many came in a box. I think it was 10. It's one of the few things I've actually spent money on this project. But then these guys, there's 16 of them, and 16 coils here, and then these just fit inside there around the whole perimeter. You can see in the video I alternated them black and white just so I could tell. I'm sure there's some improvements I can make. There's quite a bit of gap there between the two of those, but it's working for a good start. I also bought some of these magnets. Those are much smaller diameter, so I can get them in nice and close. I had actually 3D printed a whole holder for them, got all these hot glued in place, and one of them popped loose and the whole thing just all came apart. So that's another project for another day to try to improve on that. But just wanted to show you basically what is inside the bucket. And I just put the bucket on to keep the rain off of it. So that worked out to be a pretty good generator. This first one I cut the inner set of coils. There's another set of coils that runs around the inside here. Cut those out. I don't think it was really necessary. The one that's in there now still has them in there. Don't know if that makes a difference or not, but that is the gist of how the generator's going to work on this. In regard to the electronics, the plan so far I will show you. As I said, I will have a bridge rectifier here at the beginning of the chain. I still need to find a capacitor for that. I did actually have this little rectifier that I had with the capacitor. This one has a 30 volt limit. As I was starting to play with it, the capacitor in pretty short order blew up in my face, really startled me. That's where I realized 30 volt limits on these are not going to cut it. I also had this buck boost transformer. That one also has a 30 volt limit to it. I've since bought this one. This one has a 70 volt limit. I actually did read 70 volts coming off of this at one point when it unloaded. But plan is power in from this, drop it to about 14 volts, feed it into just a simple cheap solar controller, and then into a lead acid battery after that. Maybe a lithium battery if I can scrape up enough money for that. I also got a few of these little volt amp meters I can stick into the rig in various spots to see what my voltages are. But that's the plan for the electronics. I did have this all hooked up and running at one point, and I did have it all working briefly, but that was before I ran into my voltage issues, and I haven't gotten back to that yet. I really wanted to try to have this powered up before I made this video, but it has been cold and rainy, and now we are under about 1.5 feet of snow. And pretty sure that the garden hose is frozen up. So anyway, that is the electronics, and that is the plan. Without question, the most common comment that I got on the original video was various comments regarding wasting water. A lot of people were genuinely pissed off that I was doing that with a garden hose with nothing hooked to it, no purpose whatsoever. Just want to rest assured that the plan was never to generate power of any kind from a garden hose. I was merely just using the garden hose for proof of concept to see if I was even on the right track, how fast I could get the wheel spinning, and if the pelt and paddle, if the spoons would hold together. But the point of this whole thing is to install it on a neighbor's property. They have a nice little tree house alongside of a creek side. And as you can see from these clips, water will not be an issue. There's plenty of it. It runs like this probably at least 9 to 10 months out of the year. There might just be a couple months in the middle of summer where it dries up enough, but even then there's some water still trickling. So everybody can be rest assured that I'm not going to be wasting water, and this is just going to be used off of creek water that will ultimately be running out into Puget Sound. I do have this one little clip that I took at one point while I was testing this out and playing with it. Unfortunately, I didn't have it really doing much in the way of making power. But the electronics assembly that I have shown in this clip isn't going to be part of this. Like I said before, I'm going to be relocating that elsewhere up in the tree house, so that little piece of it's now gone. So as I showed you before, it did light up a few LEDs, got those to blink. Really can't spin it very fast with those or I'll blow out the LEDs. But here I've got a voltmeter hooked to it. Again, just AC out of there, through a bridge rectifier, coming down to multimeter, 0 volts, and we'll get it spinning up here. Let's see, it doesn't take much to get some voltage out of it. When that was going under full power of the garden hose, like you saw at the full pressure in that video earlier, it comes out to about 70 volts unloaded. If you load it down, it hits 36 to 40 or so volts. Plenty enough to put some charge into a battery. So there you go. It's actually creating some juice, and hopefully we can figure out something to do with it. Well, thank you all for joining me for a little bit more of an explanation. I hope this was able to answer some of your questions and concerns and pique your interest. And if you have any questions for me, please ask them in the comments. If you have any suggestions, I'm always up for suggestions. Be nice. And yeah, be good to yourselves so that you can then be good to others. Take care, all.